right now. Fritzy pulling out his wrestling connections. Got the true renaissance man of professional wrestling, Chris Jericho.
Chris Jericho, whose second autobiography, Undisputed, How to Become the World Champion in 1,372 Easy Steps, is out everywhere. In fact, he'll be in town on Saturday. He'll be at the Borders out in Winter Park at 3 o'clock for a book signing, and Chris joins us for a few minutes. How's everything going, Chris?
Going good, man. Just in the middle of this whirlwind tour. It's the beginning of week number 2, and so far so good. Undisputed is a New York Times bestseller, so that's what we're going for.
What's been more grueling, the wrestling schedule or the book tour schedule?
This schedule's worse because at least with wrestling back, when I was doing that, you'd go 3 or 4 days in a row and you'd be done for 3 or 4 days. But this has been 7 days from like 6 a.m. in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. But it's worth it. Like I said, when you do a project like this, you want to make sure people know about it, and it's good to get all the reviews and get all the feedback. So this is the fun part when you do something like a book, which takes, years to do.
Chris, you are still a young guy, obviously. I've got to tell you, I've never known a guy your age who has 2 autobiographies out.
Well, you've never met me before. That's why.
You've obviously had an eventful life.
Yeah, it's that's the way I structured the books, was to be kind of a companion set. A Lion's Tale was my first book, and that kind of documented the trials and tribulations that I had in making it to the WWE, working for Vince McMahon. That was always my dream, but I worked all around the world to make that happen, Japan and Mexico and Germany, etc. And then where the second book begins is right where the first book ended off, where I start with the WWE. So that's more of like when you have this dream and your dream comes true. Is your dream all that you thought it was going to be? In my case, it wasn't. It was very rough ride when I first got to the WWE. So you just had to really work even harder to make it work. So it is kind of, I didn't write these books for wrestling fans. I wrote them for people who just like a good story, who had a dream and who had to, whoever had to work hard to make something happen, because that's the epitome of what both the books stand for.
Chris, obviously you are a profound author. You are got a rock and roll band, you act, you do a lot of things other than wrestling. It seems like you don't fit the typical mold of the perception people have of a pro wrestler.
Well, I never did. I mean, that's the thing. When I was 19 years old and wanted to start wrestling back in 1990, it was all about the big guys and, 6'8", 300-pounders and stuff like that. So I was never going to be the biggest guy physically, so how could I have the biggest presence on the show? And that was by having the most charisma and the most personality and the most character. So I always treated wrestling as show business. And when I was a kid, I had 2 dreams. I wanted to be a wrestler and I wanted to be in a rock and roll band. And, I've been a musician way longer than I've been wrestling, so I always kind of focused my life on those 2 things. And it's all show business to me. That's why wrestling or music or writing or acting, it all comes from the same place, just being a creative person, being an artist. And that's why I remember when I first wanted to be a wrestler, people kind of like snickered. It's like, oh, he's probably too small. And that's why in this day and age, here we are in 2011, and I've never considered myself to be just a wrestler. I'm an entertainer. I'm a showman, like a vaudevillian performer almost in this day and age.
You're a Renaissance man.
It sounds so regal. It sounds so 18th century, like I'm a pirate or something. But yeah, I guess you could say that. I guess the difference is I just never put any limits on myself or any. If I thought I could do something, I'd go and make it happen and not worry about what other people thought. I don't care what anyone thinks. I just care what I think, and I just care if I feel that I can do something and do something well, then I'm going to give it a try, and that's the way I've always been. You
know what else you are?
What?
You're a troubadour.
Ah, nice. That's even more of a pirate. I'm a swashbuckler.
Yeah.
See, Chris is kind of the last of the Mohicans because he's one of the last few guys
and the last of the Mohicans.
One of the guys that actually wrestled around the world before he finally made it to WWE, and that's pretty rare these days, isn't it, Chris?
Well, the business has changed, yeah, and that's just how it was. Like I said, back then, you kind of were able to go around the world and do all these different places where, Japan was thriving for wrestling, Mexico was, Europe was. the smaller territories like ECW and Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and even WCW, Ted Turner's company. But that's I was I came in right at the cusp of old and new, and now the times have changed. It took me 9 years to get to the WWE, whereas now some guys are working 9 months and getting there, and that's not bad or good. It's just the way it is. Things have changed over the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, and you just got to adapt and work with what you have. But I was very fortunate that I had the chance to go and find all these different places to work, and not just for wrestling experience, for life experience. You said that I had 2 autobiographies. By the time I was not even 40, I was also working in Japan when I was 20. Which I think a lot of people spend their whole lives trying to get there, and I was there very early on in my career, kind of seeing the world and figuring out what the world was all about. And that added to my presence when I finally made it to the WWE. It wasn't just the ring experience that I had, it was all these different experiences in my life that made me a more seasoned person and a more seasoned performer. So I wouldn't change that for anything.
Hey, Chris, what is your future in wrestling? You're not wrestling now. What's going on with that? Are you going to get back in the game or not?
Yeah, that's the biggest question that I get asked, and I don't know. I don't have any timeline on anything. I left in September because my band was ready to do a bunch of stuff overseas, and since I left the WWE, people are like, "Well, how's your vacation been?" It's like, well, I haven't really had a vacation really, because I've been to England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Australia, Germany, France, Canada, everywhere with the band. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't ever put limits or timelines on anything. We'll see what happens, and if it feels right and I feel like I want to go back and that I can contribute 100%, then I will, because that's one thing about being in the WWE and working for Vince, is that if you're not 100% committed to it, then you need to step aside and let somebody else do that. And I had other things going on, so it was time to take a break for a bit. We'll see what happens in the future, but I'm not really too sure about anything at this point.
Okay, Chris, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. You are from Canada, obviously. Greatest Canadian rock and roll band or singer?
Rush. No doubt about it. Definitely Rush.
Loverboy might have a little something to say about that.
Well, they won't have much to say because they don't hold the candle to Rush. We'd be in big trouble if Loverboy was the best Canadian rock band of all time.
What's the latest with your band Fozzy? Because, like you said, when you walked away from WWE last year, you had some concerts and some other things going on with the band. What's the latest with Fozzy?
Yeah, it wasn't just some concerts; it was basically a world tour. So, we started working on a new record. We've got some stuff coming up, and in Europe, there's a tradition every summer of having all these big festivals where all the bands go over and play. So we've got about a month worth of festivals going on in July, and then just a few things here and there. But we're basically just starting to work on a new record before the festivals start.
By the way, you're wrong about Rush. Okay, Bachman Turner Overdrive is the greatest Canadian rock.
Nah, because they didn't have a long enough run. They were only together for like 4 or 5 years. I mean, they have some great songs, no doubt about it.
They had anthems.
Catalog that Rush. Don't try and debate me, because I'll shoot you down in every aspect of it.
You're going to shoot me down with Let It Ride, You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet, and Taking Care of Business? I don't think so.
But that's all you got.
Huh? Those are anthems.
I know, but there's only 3 of them.
There's more.
That'd be like saying, the Little River Band is the greatest American rock band of all time, because they have Walking Through the Park and Reminiscing, and they have, they have 3 songs.
They were Australian, by the way.
Chris, this is the same guy who wants the Doobie Brothers to
the
play
Doobie
at
Brothers
the
should play the Super Bowl.
It would be good if they played like the state fair or something like that.
A couple last things here, Chris. Obviously, for WWE, the biggest show of the year is WrestleMania. It's not too far away. You're not going to be a part of it this year. Do you think you're going to miss that opportunity of being there? Or
first of all, was it you that said that the Little River Band is from Australia?
Yeah, aren't they?
Geez, nerd alert! You were right on that. As soon as the Little River Band left my mouth, it was they're from Australia. So
thank you. Don't try to debate me, mister.
Are you a big Air Supply fan? So I'm sorry. So go ahead.
I was just talking about with WrestleMania. It looks like you're not going to be a part of it this year. You're not expected to be right now, just because your schedule and you've walked away. Are you getting to a point as they build up to that event that you're starting to miss it?
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. WrestleMania is, it's the biggest show of the year, and all this cool stuff that's going on. And it's like, in some ways, I feel like there's this big party, and I'm outside of the window looking in, kind of watching, going, "Hey guys, remember me?" But it was funny. Like, I had a signing yesterday in Phoenix, and I was, literally in an argument with a guy who was convinced that Vince had a private jet waiting for me on the rooftop of the building to whisk me away to Oakland for the Elimination Chamber last night. I'm like, the show starts in 45 minutes. How could I possibly get there? He goes, no. I know you're going. Don't say anything. I know you're going. And it's the same people that are convinced today that I'm going to be wherever the show is for those vignettes, the 2/21/11 events. And it's like, well, dude, I got to go to Fort Hood right now. I'm over in Dallas area. So, but yeah, I mean, it'd be great to be a part of it. And but I think at this point in time, with all the guys that are coming back, and The Rock came back, and obviously Triple H will be back very soon, and probably Undertaker and all these, everyone's returning. So it's probably better for me not to be there right now. I kind of get lost in the shuffle of everybody that comes back and all the hoopla of WrestleMania. So, I'll just be watching it like a fan. I probably won't even be watching. I'll probably be busy, but I'll be reading about it.
Hey, Chris, I'm an old school guy, as you can tell by my Bachman Turner Overdrive references. Do you ever run into any old school wrestlers, like, from Bruno Sammartino types?
Yeah, I saw him the other day at the market. I don't know. I mean, I live in Tampa, Florida, so you see a guy once in a while, but it's not like there's a Halloween store you can go to and all the old wrestlers are working down the counter or something like that.
Chris, Mike is...
And actually, it's funny, just as a quick segue, I went to the Grey Cup this year, which is the Canadian version of Super Bowl, and, the Super Bowl had the Black Eyed Peas for their halftime show, whereas the Grey Cup had Bachman Turner Overtime.
Yeah.
A
much better halftime show at the Grey Cup.
Yeah, no, I don't run into wrestlers, older wrestlers, like you said, or old rock stars, or old hockey players, or baseball players, or anyone like that.
Now, Chris, Mike is a big fan of Dusty Rhodes, so that's kind of his era when it comes to wrestling.
The American Dream, the Tower of Power, the Man of the Hour, too sweet to be sour, Gordon Soley.
Nice.
Hey, last thing, Chris.
What am I supposed to say to that?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I mean, that led to what we call in radio as dead air.
You could do your Ayatollah of rock and roll in response.
No, but you don't do stuff like that. You have to be in character to do that, not just sitting behind a desk with your headphones on, going, "I'm the man of the power, the man too sweet to be sour, the fat, the man's regret, the man with the voice, people's choice, Gordon Soley." Look at me.
Hey, are you making an announcement this week about something that a project you could be working on?
It depends when I get the confirmation of it. I've been threatening this announcement for about 3 weeks now, but it's basically something to do with what's going on this summer. I kind of alluded to it, but it's a couple big shows that we're hoping we get our confirmation on pretty soon.
Can I make a guess? Are you going to be on Dancing with the Stars?
No, people keep asking me that, and they also keep asking me if I'm going to be the lead singer of Velvet Revolver. And it's neither one of those things are what my announcement is. So it'd be nice to do either or, but that's not what I'm thinking about when I'm talking about my announcements.
Chris, before you go, I want to make one request. Next time you play a concert up in your home territory of Canada, you need to do a tandem concert with the greatest Canadian singer of all time, Anne Murray.
Name one song by Anne Murray.
Danny's song, Hello.
Oof, you guys are pretty nerdy over there at AM 750 or whatever the hell it is.
That would be 740 the game.
We better play some Megadeth this morning or something like that, maybe.
We'll try. So everybody here in the Central Florida area, head out to the Winter Park Borders on Saturday. Chris will be out there at 3 o'clock signing his second autobiography, number 2, or now his second New York Times best-selling book, Undisputed. Chris, thanks for the time, man. Keep up great work with the book tour.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next Saturday in Winter Park.
Thanks, Chris.
I'll bring my Little River Band CD and we can look at it.
I'm reminiscing.
Walking in the park, laughing in the dark and reminiscing.